I am glad to be here with Peter Russell. We just had a seminar with him and he was talking about content and discontent. And that's why I'd like him to talk about that. So thank you, Peter. First of all, I'd like to say that we have the privilege to think or to try to be conscious. So why do you think many people, they just don't care about that? Many people, when you talk about spirituality, they think about religion. Mm-hmm. Do you think there is a difference between them?
Yes, I think there's a big difference. I think for me, spirituality is about discovering who we really are as beings, discovering our true nature, freeing ourselves from materialistic thinking, discovering, deep down that we are love, discovering that inner peace that can be there. And that's something which can occur within religious traditions or just to ordinary people who have no religious upbringing at all. I think what's happened over time is people have had those deep experiences and felt the love, the compassion, the peace that comes from that. And they wanted to share that with other people. And as they have done that and passed the ideas on, gradually they got lost or distorted or become consumed by the culture. So that what ends up today as spiritual teachings become sort of religions, they become beliefs about it rather than the actual diving into the experience. So I think they start off as the same, but today in our world, they're quite different. So for me, spirituality is about directly experiencing that as opposed to thoughts about it.
And why many people just go to the spiritual experience just because they went through a disease, for example. Like if you have to have a bad experience to go inside?
And I think it can be anything. It can be disease, it can be meeting death, it can be the end of a relationship or a job or something. Something shakes you out of your complacency, mm-hmm. and you realize there is more to life than just earning money, going to work, doing whatever you were doing. There is more to life. So I think it becomes the seed for looking deeper, or sometimes it actually can trigger some spiritual experience. But it's all about letting go. So often it takes some shake-up for you to actually let go of what you're holding on to. But that's what it's ultimately about, is letting go. So anything that encourages you to let go, I think is going to open you up more to that.
How did you start your path in this direction?
It was always there. People often ask me, I didn't have any major experience. No. I think even as a teenager, I can see I was interested in these things. I was reading books on yogis, which back then in the 50s and 60s was about people who would lie on beds of nails and do strange things. So the interest was always there in the human mind and parapsychology and the power of the mind. And then in my late teens, I began to realize that the way to do this was through meditation. The people who really understood the mind were the yogis, the monks, the people who really looked inside themselves. And then it's just developed. So there's never any one thing. There's just a gradual evolution. And then I went to India myself in my 20s. And that's when I realized how important this was. That this is what the world really needs today, is to get back in touch with our own spirituality.
So you were saying in your lecture now that we are trying to fill our discontent in buying something or having something with our ego. How can we shift that?
I think the thing is to learn how to step out of the ego. What I was saying was, I don't think there's something called the ego. What there is egoic thinking. We get caught in an egoic thinking, which is thinking about ourselves, what do we need, what's going to make us happy. So it's self-centered thinking. And if we just see it as thinking, it's something that we can step out of at any time. If we see the ego as something, it's like we have to battle it. But if we just see it as thinking we get caught up in, then we can just choose to step out of it. Like, okay, no thank you. No, thank you. As I said, what to say, well, thank you for caring, but not now. And then it will come back, but we can just step out and step out time and time again.
So do you think it's possible we be content all the time?
Yes, or almost all the time. I think, as I was saying in the talk, I think most animals are content most of the time.
Yes.
We make ourselves discontent, so it's about not making ourselves discontent. The whole of our culture makes us discontent. Advertising makes us discontent. But it's learning to connect with that inner state of contentment and not be distracted by our thinking. And I think that's what, if you look at most what we might call enlightened or awakened people, they are people who they're just content nearly all the time. I mean, look at the Dalai Lama. He seems content most of the time. He says he occasionally gets angry, but it doesn't last. It will happen, but he doesn't hang on to it. I think with you or me, we get angry, and then days, years later, we can still be angry at what happened. I mean, anger is a natural response, but then let it go. So I think we can be content most of the time. Yeah, I think that's our natural state, is to be content.
Do you think we do many dramas in our thoughts? That's why we are always discontent?
Yes, we fill our minds with dramas, with stories, with worries about what might happen or not happen, or expectations, excitements about what's going to happen. But we spend a lot of our life living in the future or living in the past, but living in our stories. And when we do that, we're not in the present moment. And I think true contentment comes to being in the present moment and accepting the present moment as it is.
So I'd like to tell us now about the meditation. How can we do that? How many times we have to do that during the day, or you have to be at a certain time to do that, or how can we be better doing meditation? Because many people, they say, oh, I have to meditate, but I am afraid not now. I have things that are more important than meditate. We are always doing that.
Yes. My thinking is very loose and flexible on this. I think there's different aspects of meditation. I think, first of all, it's good to have some daily practice. They needn't be long. And when I say to people, just go and sit down, you have a cushion, a chair, even just for a few minutes. You think you haven't got time. We've always got time for a few minutes. That's the time it takes to make a cup of tea or coffee. We've always got that time. Ideally, I think it's good to sit for 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes, just to have that practice of settling down, becoming quiet. But if we haven't got that, even a few minutes is good. So I think that's important. And it can be at any time of day. Some people, I like to do it when I wake up, beginning of the day, because it somehow leaves a sense of clarity and peace that lasts through the day. Other people like to do it sort of when they get home from work, as a break between work and the evening. So there's that meditation, but also you can do what I call mini meditations, which is, you're driving and you've stopped at a traffic light. You can just, you've got half a minute. You can pause, you can notice your breath, you can notice the sensations, the feelings in your body. There's many instances where you can just pause for half a minute or a minute, and I encourage people to do that many times a day, whenever they think of it, just to pause, notice their experience. And then there's also what I call micro meditations, which are like 2-second meditations, where you just pause, whatever you're doing, just pause the thinking, you're just like, here I am. And then you're off again, caught up in something, but just whatever you're thinking, just to say stop, just pause. And we can all do that, we can just pause, and when we do that, we notice a quietness, we notice often a sense of clarity, there's a stillness there. We're just noticing that presence that's always there. So we can do that hundreds of times a day, just pause and just notice what's there.
So our life, do you believe that our life comes from inside, or our thoughts help us to get there? Because sometimes we make plans, or we just want something. I have a dream that I would like to travel to England and do you think our thoughts matters things, or just when we meditate we get in touch with a major destiny, a major plan?
I think both can happen. I think thinking is very valuable. It's one of the things that makes us different from other animals, other creatures, that we can think about things, we can think about the future, we can imagine what might happen, we can make plans, we can make decisions, we can make plans. And that's human creativity, and that can be very useful. Although a lot of the time it actually gets in our way because we're making plans about things that will never happen. We get caught up in fantasy. Yeah. But at times thinking can be very, very useful. But also not thinking can be very useful. And that's what meditation is about, is stepping to that level behind thought. Because then I think we have what I call an inner knowing. We have an inner knowing of what is right, what we should be doing. People call it our intuition. And when the mind is quiet, then that we can hear that intuition. If the mind's busy worrying about this, it's over there thinking about this, the intuition, we can't hear that quiet inner voice. But when your mind is quiet, then we can hear that inner voice. So I think both are valuable.
So thinking it's a good tool if we know how to use.
And don't do it too much.
Yeah.
It's a good tool knowing when to use it and when it's getting in the way.
And what about the ego? Because many people say, oh, you don't have to be in your ego. But how not to be there? If you are alive, we have a body, we have to present ourselves.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying, I think it's not so much there's an ego, but there's an egoic way of thinking we get caught in. And at times that's very useful. If we need to take care of ourselves in the world, take care of our body, then the ego way of thinking is very important. But again, we can get caught up in that when it's not needed. And for me, it's recognizing that it is actually just a way of thinking about things. And so what I was saying about this pausing our thinking, whenever we just pause our thinking, we're pausing the ego mode, we're stepping out of the ego mode.
Mm-hmm. So we can balance, you don't exclude.
No.
Because sometimes I think that many people, they say, oh no, not your ego, not your thoughts, not your just meditation. No.
We need both. I think the problem is today we spend nearly all our time in the thinking mode, the egoic mode. That's where we live. Mm-hmm. And I think we should be spending some of our time there in the egoic thinking mode when that's necessary. But the rest of the time we should be coming back to our own being. We should be in a state of just natural contentment, and then doing whatever we're called to do in the world. If we see somebody needs help, going and helping them in some way. Which doesn't come out of ego, that's just a spontaneous thing. You see somebody stumbling or they drop something. Mm-hmm. If you see someone drop something, you don't say, oh, they've dropped something, I wonder if I should go and pick it up or not, or what will they think of me, or should I leave it, or maybe they meant to drop it, or whatever. That's the ego coming in. You just see somebody drop something, you spontaneously go, you pick it up and say, hey, I think you dropped something. Mm-hmm. That's not the ego, that's just spontaneous action. It's what I call spontaneous right action. It's just being called upon by the situation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. It's very good to be here with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.